Red Dead Redemption 2. It's an amazing game. One of my favorite games of all time. Now, I know I'm a little bit late to the hype train. The game came out a little while ago and it's not as talked about anymore. I mean, there's online. Online exists, yes, it's a thing. But I want to talk about the main story, because months after completing it, I still think about it all the time. It was like just so impactful to me. Arthur was such a great character, and that's actually what I want to talk about today, mostly just Arthur and why, in my opinion, he's probably the best video game character of all time. Now, I know there's gonna be some people in the comments like Pac-Man, Sonic, something like that's, well, yes, they are more iconic, I would say. There's not much to their character, I would really say. Arthur's character, however, is very complex and very human, surprisingly, which is something really hard to do in a video game. So you may not agree, and that's fine. If you have a different opinion, comment below and let me know. But I'm gonna explain my reasoning in this video. So the story of Arthur is a story of change, a story of redemption, hence the name of the game. Many of the trailers for Red Dead 2 made Arthur look like a cruel, unforgiving outlaw. One of my favorite moments from the trailer was when he says, "Maybe when your mother's done mourning your father, I'll keep her in black on your behalf." He was talking to Mrs. Dowles about how when the father died, he would kill the son as well. This showed that Arthur was an outlaw who would kill anyone without thought. And I was okay with this at first. It's a Rockstar game like GTA, right? You kill, you rob, you're an outlaw, a criminal. It's fun, right? But as I got into the game, I noticed it was different. Arthur and the gang were different from the way the trailer portrayed them. They weren't just ruthless, cold-blooded killers. Sure, they did kill, but only if they had to. And hardly did they ever kill anyone who was innocent. They had a code, and they lived by that code. Dutch heavily enforced it. I didn't see them as criminals. I saw them as people who had to do some bad things in order to make it, in order to live the life that they wanted. They certainly weren't as bad as the O'Driscolls. However, I slowly started to notice one member of the gang was different. Micah Bell. Get one thing straight. I absolutely hate Micah. I did not like or trust him from the start. I was always hoping he would die. I wanted so bad to leave him in that jail in the beginning of the game. And whenever I was playing a mission and it would say, "Mission failed, Micah died," that's not a failure to me. That's just a bonus. When Arthur got diagnosed with tuberculosis, I was worried for him because I cared about Arthur. I had spent so much time playing as him. He seemed like a real person and I did not want him to die. Micah, however, I could care less about what happened to him. He was the exact opposite. Every time he called Arthur Black Lung, I pulled out my gun and tried to shoot him, knowing it wouldn't do anything. But it helped to take out a little bit of anger. I hate Micah, but in a good way. I love his character. He's supposed to be hated. That's the point. He's the bad guy. You're supposed to hate him and hate the things that he does. But the worst thing he did was the way he manipulated Dutch. Arthur was Dutch's right-hand man, and throughout the game, we see him slowly lose that position in favor of Micah. This is when Arthur really starts to change. After being diagnosed with tuberculosis, he realizes he doesn't have a lot of time left. And even if he did, the gang may not. The next important character I want to talk about is none other than Dutch. Dutch is basically Arthur's father, having raised him most of his life and constantly referring to Arthur as son. In the beginning of the game, Dutch is the guy who's just trying to help everyone out and do what's best for the gang. Whenever something goes wrong, he has a plan to get the gang back on the right track. But after a while, the plans don't work anymore, and it's plan after plan after plan. Arthur tried to tell Dutch that his big plan of going to Tahiti and becoming mango farmers isn't gonna work. However, Dutch doesn't even take Arthur's thoughts into consideration anymore. We see Dutch go from someone who cares about the gang and even helps people outside of the gang from time to time, such as when he saved Sadie Adler, to becoming someone who murders an old lady in Guarma who had no chance of harming them. Micah changed Dutch, and it honestly made me feel bad for Arthur. Dutch eventually leaves Arthur to die, then later does the exact same thing with John, who is also basically his son. I don't hate Dutch the way I hate Micah, because Dutch was good at first. I just feel hurt by Dutch, because I did care about him and like him. And Arthur felt the same way. If you played the side missions with Arthur and Mary, you would know that he told her once he got enough money, he would run away with her. That was the life he wanted. He wanted to just live with her and be happy. But that's not what he tries to do further towards the end, when his time's running out. Instead of helping himself, he uses his last days to help everyone else. And it's somewhat ironic, because he's not doing it for redemption, which is what actually gives him his redemption. It's not because he wants to change so he can be remembered as some great man. He's doing it because he genuinely wants to help. But this is what makes him a good man. In one scene where he gives Mrs. Dowles and her son some money, he tells her to just take the money and leave. He specifically says he doesn't even want them to thank him. And it's not like he's acting like a hero saying, "Oh, you don't have to thank me, I'm just doing the right thing." No, that's not what he's looking for. He just wants to help in any way he can. He's not a brave hero. In fact, he's seen in one scene where he has a conversation about his life coming to an end with a nun, that he's scared. He's a human. He's scared of what's happening. He's just a simple outlaw who's trying to help the people he cares about before his time runs out. Eventually, Arthur knows what he has to do. He has to confront Dutch and Micah. So he goes to do just that. The next scene is Arthur's last ride. A scene where he rides his horse back to the camp as voices can be heard, depending on your honor, saying that he was a good man. This is when I start to realize Arthur was going to die, and it was going to be soon. We all know what happens next. Arthur confronts the gang, John shows up, the Pinkertons show up, they run away, your horse gets shot. This part really sucks because I had the same horse all game, then he died. R.I.P. Bullseye. Arthur then tells John there's no way they can both make it out. He hands him his satchel and his hat and tells John to go be a man. Arthur holds off the Pinkertons and is confronted by Micah. Depending on your honor, he is shot by him or dies while watching the sunrise after fighting him off. Now, the reason I talked about Dutch and Micah earlier is to show that they are a big part of why Arthur changed. Micah changed Dutch, and as a result of that, it changed Arthur. Arthur was bad, but he was never evil. Micah was evil, and he was leading Dutch down the same path. Arthur saw what was happening and realized none of this was ever going to work. They weren't going to go to Tahiti to become mango farmers. He realized it'd be best for everyone to go their separate ways and live their lives. And when he found out he didn't have much time left, he made it his mission to help them. This is important because, like I've said many times, Arthur didn't just suddenly have a change of heart out of nowhere and become some great hero who's so brave and wanted to turn his life around. No, he was far from perfect. He was an outlaw who thought of himself as a bad man. He saw he didn't have time left and he wanted to help the people he could before it was too late. He wasn't looking for redemption. But like I said earlier, because he did these things for others such as John, Abigail, Jack, etc., not himself. He did them because he genuinely cared about them, not about how it made him look. That's what gives him his redemption in the end. He may not have been trying to be a good man, but in the end, he died one. He did it not because he wanted a better life, but because he wanted a better life for everyone else. In my opinion, this level of humanity that Arthur has is something I've never seen in a video game before. Heck, not even in some movies or books, TV shows, anything. Arthur genuinely feels like a real person at times. It feels like something's missing now that I'm stuck playing as John. Now, don't get me wrong, John is great too, but Arthur is special. When he dies, it's like losing a friend. I played as him. for over 80 hours, learning about his past, seeing him change, and finally watching him die. It was a story I'll look back on years from now and probably still remember. I can't say that about many games. In the end, that's why I think Arthur Morgan is the best video game character of all time. I think Rockstar really did a great job and wrote a character that was just human. He wasn't perfect, and he wasn't a complete criminal who only cared about himself. He was Arthur. He was human. But most importantly, he could swim. Anyways, guys, that's probably going to wrap it up for this video. Like I said, I know I'm very late to this. Red Dead has been out for a while now. But I've just been wanting to make this video for a while because I think Arthur is such a great character. I just really want to talk about it. I'd love to make more Red Dead videos. I absolutely love the story, and there's so much to talk about. I could talk about Micah, Dutch, John. I could sit there and talk about my horse for an hour if I had to. It's just such a great game. But like I said, that's gonna do it for this video. If you disagree, that's fine. I expect people to disagree. I expect people to agree. It's fine. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and catch you guys in the next one.